It's the day of the week or the month of the year or any day that I feel like doing it where records come in or I go to a store to get them. I'm out of breath from walking from the camera to right here. I realize that I click my tongue because my mouth is fat. Can you have a fat mouth? Very rarely do you capture something so nostalgic that it brings you back to being, 10 years old. And actually, it's not seeing some cartoon or whatever, and you're like, oh, I saw that once when I was a wee lad. When I was a kid, I would go to the shopping mall in St. Cloud, Minnesota with my mom and my sister or whoever. And whenever you would go into Hot Topic at the time, you young whippersnappers nowadays, you wouldn't know about this, but Hot Topic used to be a store that sold, I guess they do still sell rock shirts, but they sold music too. It was kind of like a mini record store, and it was really, really cool, especially for a young little Jamesy Poo who would go in there and see covers, album covers that would terrify me, or shirts. I remember one of my previous videos that I think is over on TikTok, I should bring it over to YouTube, but I did Tomb of the Mutilated by Cannibal Corpse, and their album covers, their shirts, their whole artwork, at one point in my life, when I was a little more puritanical, I looked at that and I thought, there was always this weird, ew, but also, that's fascinating. I love that, but I don't think it's okay to love that. I'm sure some of you can relate. Eaten Back to Life by Cannibal Corpse. This album is perhaps one of the most influential albums for rock, metal, especially death metal. Bands like Death, bands like Carcass were already doing their thing with a more extreme version of metal. You had people pushing what was normal. A lot of death metal, and it's funny because before the mid 1980s, save a few, I know there's always people that are doing different stuff, but for the most part, metal was sung. In Slayer, it was shouted, but that was more of a hardcore punk. Jeff Hanneman from Slayer, he had Dead Kennedy's sticker on his guitar. He had the Addicts. He had, I think, Black Flag. I don't know. But with those bands, you had less singing, like that was in the Sex Pistols, the Clash, the Damned. They sang. These hardcore bands, they come and play for 35 minutes and play like 1,700 songs. With the push for more extreme vocals, you had different bands doing different things with it. So you have the yelling in hardcore. You have bands like Slayer who meld metal and hardcore punk, which a lot of people, it's like crossover. Thrash metal, the big four, Metallica, Slayer, Megadeth, and I was gonna say Pantera. They might fit a little bit better, but you gotta give Anthrax their due because, come on, Anthrax is still great, even though I've never really listened to them very much, but they are technically a band. And with this album specifically, Cannibal Corpse, they're not quite Hammer Smashed Face. They're not quite Butchered at Birth. They're certainly not, Kill, Vile, Gallery of Suicide. But they're pushing the boundaries. And to me, this album actually sounds a little bit more like if the Cookie Monster would replace Tom Araya from Slayer. Chris Barnes certainly coming into his own as a vocalist, but it's not quite to that guttural that we hear on Butchered at Birth, Hammer Smashed Face, The Bleeding. So without further ado, let's get into it. So, album artwork, beautiful, scared the hell out of me as a kid, but it's beautiful. The back is just kind of an expansion on that scene. I feel like I can read more of these, and I'm not going to get flagged. Side 1, Shredded Human, Double Autopsy, Put Them to Death, Mangled, Scattered Remains, Splattered Brains. Poetry, there I saw it, scattered remains, splattered brains, washed away by the rain. Good. Born in a Casket. Sometimes a bed's a bed. Rotting Head. The Undead Will Feast. Bloody Chunks. A skull full of maggots and buried in the backyard. One thing that I always thought was funny about Cannibal Corpse is that if you look the name and think about what it actually means, it's zombie. That's all. But you can't call it zombie because one, Cannibal Corpse is such a good name, and it sounds more metal. You gotta sound most brutal. A quivering pile of useless flesh locked in a padded cell, hidden from the prying eyes of curiosity. Experimental surgery made him what he is today. It didn't rhyme. It's bad. Take a look at the actual vinyl itself. Ooh, this is really cool. So it's see-through. You can see me. Hi. It's see-through, and it's what is the name of this color variant? Because Tomb of the Mutilated was red slushy, and I was like, that's brains. You're liars. This is clear with red bloodshot. Okay. I knew that they had like a couple different variants because they repressed the first 3 Cannibal Corpse albums, which I have the Butchered at Birth coming. But that's beautiful. I love that. Eaten Back to Life by Cannibal Corpse. If there are any record recommendations you have, leave them in the comments. I'll be sure to check them out. I don't know if I can really go out and buy every record that's commented because I know I look like it. This shirt was expensive. It was $10 whole. But can't be going buying everything all the live long day. But leave a comment. What would you like to see more of? I have a lot of like rock and metal and punk, and I'm open. I like all music. Let me know what you think, and we'll catch you next time. Stay circular. It was bad.